What is the biggest danger for the markets today? Is it that inflation is too high, goes above 2% too quickly, or that still it's a repeat of 2017? We're waiting for inflation, but it just doesn't come as strong as expected.
Well, I think at this stage, I think it's the upside risks to inflation that are worrying central banks. Of course, for the last few years, we've been waiting for inflation to pick up to the sort of levels that we had been used to and that central banks are targeting. But at the moment, as inflation is slowly creeping up, I think one concern is that it might force central banks to go a little faster than financial markets and economies are currently prepared for. And this is what we've been observing the last few weeks. So I think some language from the Fed, for instance, that it's starting to see inflation moving up more decisively would reinforce this trend of inflation concern and to some degree rising interest rates as well.
Ebrahim, how worried are you about a weak dollar actually adding another layer of stimulus to an already very stimulated U.S. economy? Is there a danger of overheating?
I do think there is some danger of overheating, but we have to distinguish between a couple of different dangers. I think there's the danger that financial markets will overheat and to some degree maybe mistake some of the current stimulus for what will be the eventual sustainable growth rate, so that we will see euphoria. There's the more traditional form of overheating, which would be that inflation rises, but I'm a little less worried about that aspect right now because there are plenty of dampeners still in the system that keep inflation contained. And then there's the third, which is simply that the US now has an unusually large budget deficit at a time when unemployment is very low, where interest rates are very low. So I think there might be a sense that a little more prudence on the fiscal side would be in order and building up buffers. So I think that's a risk that's perhaps gaining in traction a little in financial markets.